It's hard to imagine anything being Carnage related and not having Cletus Cassidy heavily involved within this plot. Well, that's kind of how Ultimate Carnage is. Instead of being Cletus Cassidy because of absorbing her essence, it seems to have an obsession with Gwen Stacy. Let's get into it. Similar to how Marvel in the multiverse has multiple Spider-Man characters, whether female, male, young, old, there's multiple that exist out there in the Marvel multiverse. Just like how there's a lot of Spider-Man, there's multiple different versions of symbiotes out there in the multiverse, like Carnage, for example. You know, the main continuity, he has a alternate reality universe counterpart known as Ultimate Carnage. A lot of similarities, but a few differences here and there. See, here's the thing about Carnage in the Ultimate Universe. He lacks screen time. He doesn't have that many appearances at all. But it's similar lore to the 616 on how it's because of Venom that Carnage is here. They're kind of related, you know, symbiote beings. This page pretty much describes everything needed to know. This Ultimate Spider-Man got in a battle with Venom, of course, and how Venom was created by Peter and Eddie's fathers, accidentally inventing Venom when they were seeking a biological cure for cancer. A being in this universe known as Dr. Connors, aka the Lizard, because, you know, he became the Lizard because he was trying to regrow his arm and such. You guys know the story. After Spider-Man got hurt in battle, you know, Dr. Connors asked Peter's permission to use his blood to sample, his permission to run experiments with his blood. The result of that experiment was, of course, Carnage, using Peter's blood. Gotta love scientists. Every scientist is a little crazy, but what's up with Peter's blood helping make this though? But the thing about this universe version of Carnage, it lacks appearances, but it did have different stages to where it was in its infant stage looking like this. And similar to how Venom in the Ultimate Universe be eating people, one could say this Carnage symbiote does feed on beings to survive or sustain himself or to grow stronger because it actually gets bigger from a mode like this. After eating more beings, it grows to the Carnage look that's kind of familiar to us, right? It seems to be a living thing, like you already know how symbiotes are living. So it's stuff you already know. He can do the standard symbiote stuff like making claws or blades. Implied to be able to stretch, use tendrils to grab beings like its own web. Spider-like stuff like web sling with his own tendril, it seems. There's lore on why Carnage is so strong is because it's got some of Peter's DNA spliced with some of Lizard's DNA. In a search to trying to find a cure to illnesses that we all got to deal with in real life, it created Carnage. See, this is where it gets a little wonky. Like you can see in the panel here, grabbing Gwen Stacy, and they pretty much explain what happened here. Gwen Stacy of this Ultimate Universe was actually killed by this Carnage symbiote. Even though Gwen technically died, the symbiote took her essence, looking like her. Okay. This also kind of proves that the symbiote seems to be able to do some high-tier shape-shifting to the point where it can literally just mimic a complete look of a human and look symbiotic at the same time. And if you try to shoot it, the bullets will go right through him like this. Like when I say shape-shifting, I literally mean shape-shifting where he can look exactly like other beings without Carnage necessarily having an actual host body. Like, guys, make this make sense. Like, Gwen apparently died, but the symbiote technically reconstituted Gwen to where one could say this clone Gwen got the memories of the real Gwen and is basically like the replacement Gwen, because when Gwen and this Carnage symbiote got separated, yeah, this is the occasion of Carnage fighting Venom. When Carnage symbiote and this Gwen replica clone whatever got separated, Gwen or the Gwen replica was apparently able to survive on its own, so it's like Gwen is just back. They even analyzed her, said she's clean on every level, no symbiote in her and everything, so it's like the Carnage symbiote was able to make a complete clone of Gwen with her memories, so Gwen is almost kind of like back. The symbiote originally killed her, destroyed her host form, absorbed her essence, her DNA, her genetic codes, sequences, and then abandoned those essences and codes for another, leaving the body. She's a molecular copy. An exact one at that. There's no difference on any definable genetic level. And they literally said, if she's a biological Gwen Stacy and mentally Gwen Stacy, who are we to say she's not Gwen Stacy? When it comes to its strength, normal humans can't really do nothing. Even if they try to resist its grip, they can't really do nothing to stop themselves from being eaten. So it's obviously stronger than normal humans, literally being in its weakest state. But imagine when it actually gets powered up, looking like the true Carnage. I think we all can agree, since it's kind of got some of Peter in him, one could say whatever Spider-Man can do, he can do too, because they literally show it panel for panel and how he's mimicking Spider-Man or Peter memories, how he fights, everything he went through, and then starts replicating it by web slinging and such. So like literally like another Venom. I'm talking about even sticking on walls. On top of the Spider-Man stuff, he could do the Venom stuff. Like you see him literally making blades, stretching itself to attack beings. It's durable enough to withstand punches from Spider-Man itself. So you guys know the routine. Like we see the symbiote itself getting a fist fight with Ultimate Peter Parker, and they have a decent fight. Of course, Peter ended up winning, of course, because they can't have symbiotes just walking around Marvel, but He won via elemental stuff. You know how they have a weakness to fire and hot stuff and such? Yeah, that's a weakness to it. But strength-wise, I think it was pretty on par with Peter. This same Peter he was slugfesting with stated out his mouth that he has the strength to lift a city bus over his head, implying he can lift over 10 tons. That's obvious, right? So by default, I think we all could agree that Carnage, being a Spider-Man type centric foe with similar strength, similar DNA, he should be able to at least lift 10 plus tons. That should be like a no-duh, right? There's actually two Spider-Man that come from the Ultimate Universe. See, these two Spider-Man have differences. Even though their physicals are so similar, they have other things like other perks, like Miles has electric blasts and such, right? The best way to give you an idea of how strong these symbiotes are is how strong these ultimate versions of Spider-Man are, these ultimate characters. You're probably wondering why Miles is relevant. Oh, trust me, he is. Just check this out for a second. Like Miles, Spider-Man, you see how small he is compared to this giant being that has to be as tall as a couple-story building at least. Despite this massive size and strength, Spider-Man type characters, despite the size, can just one punch and knock beings out like this. This is relevant for Ultimate Spider-Man because we've actually seen Ultimate Spider-Man with his punches. When it comes to Miles, somebody that can knock out giants this large, we've actually seen Ultimate Spider-Man Peter Parker punch Miles one shot and even knock him out, making him sleepy. A guy that can knock down or punch down giant beings. All this punching power technically has to apply for Ultimate Carnage because they literally got in a slugfest. You see Peter kick him here. You see Ultimate Carnage punch back, shape-shifting, looking like Peter. You know, when it comes to giants like this, there's no reason why Carnage wouldn't be able to knock a giant down with his punches too. And you guys know, based on how small Miles looks, these giants like this can weigh over hundreds of tons. You know, hitting with over hundreds of tons of force at the bare minimum to knock her out. So it's obvious Carnage in this Ultimate Universe can hit hard enough to do this to brick walls. That's a no-duh moment. These kind of feats for symbiote tiers is just a joke and easy and is expected at this point. I would say by default, he should be able to just break apart with punches or strikes or slices from his tendrils or his claws. He'll be able to cut down bridges, this beast, the support pillars. You know, it's not stuff we see him do because he lacks appearances, but by default, just being a Spider-Man tier or Ultimate Spider-Man tier, this kind of stuff should be by default to even be anywhere in his ballpark of strength. But you can see he can take full-blown assault punches from Peter. Since at this point in time, Carnage was primitive, Carnage was kind of stupid, so Peter jumped in here tricking him, and he jumped in afterwards, and that's where he kind of fell in there. You know, it just, there's clear writer intent evidence that he's up there with spider tiers, you know? You see beings trying to shoot Carnage here, it just ain't gonna work. Like, punching through wood and such like that, Carnage is obviously strong enough to do such a thing. I mean, to prove that he's on that Spider-Man level, we literally seen Carnage fight Venom. Somebody we know for a fact is Spider-Man level, we see them both hit Spider-Man away here. We see Carnage take a hit from Venom. We've seen Carnage actually hit Venom back with a hit and even tossing him. And you guys see where this is going. Venom is strong enough to just hit a building a couple times to the point where the building itself just falls and Carnage is slugfesting with this Venom. In this particular scan, this Venom is a different host, but the same strength still should apply for Carnage if we're being honest. Meaning his strikes by default should have the raw power to collapse buildings, you know, the standard stuff. And that's when craziness happens, like Carnage fusing with Venom and they become a big hulking looking scary beast separated from Gwen. I think this Carnage has less than 10 appearances, so it's not really much else to say. You know, Carnage is a Spider-Man centric, Venom tier centric type being. I still hope you all enjoyed though. How strong do you think Carnage is? But before I get going, I gotta say thanks to the donators real quick. It helps out a lot. Respect Carnage of the Ultimate Universe. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys later.